Hello Neighbor, a lore-heavy game about having a creepy next-door neighbor. I personally watched this game a lot as a kid, and as the game hits nearly 8 years of being out, here's the entire lore in just 20 minutes. Ready, set, go. Firstly, the Hello Neighbor series has a lot of games, but out of the many games in the franchise, only 3 are crucial for the lore of the main story. Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, Hello Neighbor, and Hello Neighbor 2 in that exact chronological order. So without further ado, let's begin with Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek. Our story begins here in Raven Brooks, Missouri, which unfortunately is not a real town in Missouri. Here we get a day in the life of the Petersons, your average family of 4. They have a son, Aaron, a daughter, Maya, their mom, who has no name really. I think it's like Diane or something. Anyway, you get the point. And the character you'll probably all recognize, Theodore Peterson, aka Mr. Peterson. So we take the perspective of the daughter Maya and we end up playing games with our brother. There are 4 games in particular to cover, 1 in the savannah, cops and robbers, fireman rescue, and finally 1 as a zombie in a snowy graveyard. Starting off with the first act taking place in a savannah, all of these games have kind of a similar theme. We place toys that are scattered across the map into the bin, only there's one catch. Our brother chases after us, and I have no clue what kind of 20/20 eagle vision this kid has because he'll legit spot you from anywhere. I kid you not, I legit spent 2 hours on every minigame. Nevertheless, after playing the first minigame, our mother finally calls us in for dinner. However, as time goes on and we play some more, we end up looking for mom and dad, but they aren't here yet. Did they leave us? Did our dad go to get milk and never return? Anyway, that's kind of odd, but we don't think much of it as we set up the plates for dinner. As the chair falls down, we decide that maybe we should give them a call just to check on where they are. As our phone call remains unresponsive, we decide to distract ourselves a little bit with another short game. This time we're firefighters and he's, doing his best impression of like Fireboy from Fireboy and Water Girl. Regardless, we save the day once again, and at this point, we hear the door creak open. However, as we expect both our mom and dad to be there, we come to realize that only our dad came home. It turns out that on the way, a fatal car crash took our mother's life. Devastated, we try to comfort him, but with that chair being missing at the table and 1 less dish present, the mood is simply not there. Everyone in the house is taking it bad, but no one is taking it worse than our brother, who's reasonably crashing out. We try to cheer him up, but to no avail. Eventually, we try to do our roleplay again. This time we're a zombie in a cold, deserted graveyard. We win again, but this time it feels like more than just a harmless game. His anger and rage are not processed in a healthy way, and he ends up lashing out, shooting us with this Nerf gun over and over, until we're saved by the bell, rather our dad, who calls us in for dinner. As Aaron is misbehaving out of rage, when Mr. Peterson tells him to stop and go into his room, he steals Maya's doll from her grasp. As it is our doll, we try to get it back, hopefully by comforting him. However, much to our dismay, he forces us into another one of his games. This time, compared to the others, this game takes a very different approach. This time, there are no dolls to put in any basket as we navigate this cruel expanse, objects in our room taking on life size as we make our way to the roof of the house, finally retrieving the doll that we lost. However, just as we think we've won, out of misplaced rage and anger, the pot finally boils over, and he pushes us, his sister, off the roof of the house, Mr. Peterson losing 2 family members in quick succession. As the credits roll, we find Mr. Peterson burying his daughter within the same walls that she used to play within. As the grave is dug, a beach ball is dropped along the street by a boy named Nicky Roth, who we shift our focus to. He drops this beach ball down the street, and as we descend the steep street past a few missing posters, rather than our ball falling into a sewer duct and a creepy middle-aged clown pulling up, we hear some odd childlike screaming coming from our next door neighbor's house. Okay, so some guy is dying. Being a child with an undeveloped prefrontal cortex, aka dumb, we decide to peer through the window and we see our next door neighbor, Mr. Peterson, shutting the door to his basement, seemingly distraught. That child that he shoved in the basement is Aaron. Now, before we are about to ring up Child Protective Services, Mr. Peterson decides that we ought to be the next victim, and he chases after us. So, as we narrowly escape his grasp, we decide that we need to get to the bottom of the situation no matter what. So, as we jump into the gameplay, we can see that this game has some very interesting mechanics. Anyway, our goal is simple. We need to get inside that house into the basement. Problem being, the cutscene before shows him locking it with a red key that he stores on the 2nd floor of the house. After it takes me a solid 10 years to get onto the second floor here, we get to that second floor, grab the key that allows us to get to his car, and quite the parking job he's done here, and inside of his trunk he has this magnet gun which we promptly use to steal a wrench from his house. That wrench is the perfect tool to open the fence to this ladder, which allows us to make our way inside. That red key, ours. With bated breath, we steal our resolve and quietly enter through that front door, opening the door to the unknown. This basement seems somewhat vacant until we fiddle around with the washing machine and see something particular. The washing machine door is really a gateway to this dystopian room that seems to be simulating what appears to be the regular world. There's food, a mattress on the floor, and a few candles in this otherwise barren and vacant room. Upon closer inspection, these windows reveal that this is some sort of odd movie set. As we spot a lever and the neighbor makes his way downstairs too, we realize that we have to be committed now. In for a penny, in for a pound. We eventually find exactly what we're looking for, this door over here that's locked behind a generator, that generator locked behind an electric fence. As Nicky recollects his thoughts, we decide on a plan. We saw a lever at the start which shuts off the power. Our goal is to remove the power to cut off any security systems or cameras in the area, namely this electric fence which guards a generator. Turning off that generator will allow access to this door. We can route ourselves back to the main door to hopefully save Aaron. Sound like a plan? So 50 minutes later, and after failing a couple times, we execute the plan to perfection. We turn the power back on and become prime 2012 London Olympics Usain Bolt as we open that door to find a maze. But there's only one problem. He too is prime 2012 Usain Bolt, as he's right behind us. As fast as we can run, it's no use. We come across a dead end, a door locked behind 3 keys. With our back to the wall and no escape available, we accept our fate. So, as we come to, we realize that we've actually been stuck in that very basement with Aaron for weeks now. How do I know it's been weeks? Well, judging by the fact that his dogs are on full display here and his socks are kinda ripped, I think it's pretty clear. But a few weeks does a lot for the story, as it's implied that we've been speaking with Aaron Peterson, and over the past few weeks he's been helping us to escape. He unlocks the door to our cell, and as we pass by a doll amongst the cobwebs, we escape to the first ray of sunlight in weeks, only to notice a few changes. The neighbor is absolutely frightened at the possibility that we escape, and as such, security has tightened a little bit. The fences are higher, windows are barricaded, but little does he know we're not stuck with him, he's stuck with us. Although we still have to save his son, right now our goal is simple: get ourselves out of here. It's at this point that the house almost becomes a metaphor for us and the neighbor. For Mr. Peterson, it's much like he's trying to hide his actions by building up this iron defense, while for us, it's a labyrinth that beckons us to dig deeper. Upon closer inspection of the house, we see these valves scattered across, and our goal becomes to drain them for a specific reason that you'll see. That reason being that for some reason, this guy is hosting a SeaWorld on the roof of his house. As we're able to successfully drain it out, the water is redirected to a different part of the house. Here, we freeze it to access the red key and get out of the fence. As Mr. Peterson runs after to ensure that this secret remains within the bounds of the fence gate, he has a difficult decision to make. Running after Nicky would compromise holding Aaron captive, and so he makes the difficult decision to let Nicky go. As we look away and never come back, years have added inches of height to our frame and a little bit of stubble as we find ourselves in this tiny apartment, free from the horrors of Raven Brooks. However, as we're enjoying the peace, it's short-lived. Nicky must be living in New York because he shortly gets an eviction letter, and with nowhere to go in this bustling city, it leaves only one option: back to the place that traumatized us all those years back. In the familiar town of Raven Brooks, we come across our old decrepit house. We notice that the eyesore that used to be in front of us is now gone, seemingly burnt to a crisp. It seems like with time, all wounds have healed. As we lay down on our sofa, we try to dream of a future without that traumatizing past. However, as we lay down, the knocks of the hammer barricading ring in our ears, and screams send shivers down our spine. Time heals all wounds, but now only time will tell if it can heal psychological ones. Our fears materialize into the form of the house, and it seems that to put all of this behind us, the best way out is through. As we enter the facade of this house again, we have to tackle our traumas vis-a-vis. Fear of abandonment, which comes from the books when we learn that Nicky was abandoned in a grocery store at a young age. The fear of school, where he was picked on as a kid before Raven Brooks. And a dark closet where we feel minuscule against the surrounding objects. With each fear conquered, we gain more power, like the ability to become invisible, push back and defend ourselves, and we gain the ability to defy the law of gravity and double jump. Screw you, Isaac Newton. With our anxieties calmed, the only thing that we need to do is reaffirm the truth and put our trauma to bed. With bated breath, we pry past the screws of the barricade, and we make our way down to a prison that we're all too familiar with. As we navigate it, we see something lurking in the shadows that changes our view on everything. The entire time, we see the antagonist as Mr. Peterson, but what if the real antagonist was our fear and our trauma all along? As we creep by this mysterious shadowy creature, well, at least after a jump scare or two. What the is that thing? Oh my god. Unsure of where we stand, we make our way back to the maze when we were kids, double jumping past the fence, and as the neighbor pursues us, this time the result waiting at the end of the maze has to be different. We use what we learned when we overcame our fears, pushing him away, and at the end of the maze, those shackles are gone and they reveal not a dead end, but rather a door, and inside of it, we see a cardboard cutout of Aaron, which is kind of strange, but nothing is stranger than when we look outside because we see that clearly somebody's been taking HGH because this guy is massive all of a sudden. This is the end game, and we've conquered all our fears, and this time, in order to free ourselves, we have to take on Mr. Peterson's wrath and enter that home symbolizing all the trauma we faced as a kid and let it finally rest. In this obscure, boundless world, we use the surrounding objects to knock him to a position, not to where we can hurt him, but rather to enter the house on his back to take on the real enemy of Hello Neighbor head first, fear and trauma. Entering that house, we see that, like us, fear and trauma have chased after the neighbor since that day. We try to jump over the fence to help out, but the only thing there is the door for us to escape. As we enter this house, we see ourselves as a kid, although we're kind of like an Interstellar where we can't directly interact with them, but our worst fear comes to light when we look out the window and our fears are far more massive than we can handle. With every swing, we stand in the way, blocking the pain and trauma from reaching us as a kid. As we get larger with each passing second, we find it harder to move, but we still get in the way of our fears, where before long, we outgrow and become larger than our fears. We did it. Our fears conquered, and the wounds of our past all forgiven. However, even though we've overcome them, one person still has his own fears to deal with. Behind us, locked forever in this house, is the one person whose trauma will knock on his door in perpetuity. The door out is nowhere to be found, his own fears and trauma stuck with him forever. With difficulty, we turn away, and as we wake up from this crooked dream, we leave all those fears with the couch we slept on as we begin to turn a new page on our life. Speaking of a new page in life, that's exactly what's on the neighbor's mind too. This is the start of Hello Neighbor 2, which takes place shortly after the events in Hello Neighbor 1 when Nicky Roth escapes from the house initially, as this time we're playing as Quentin, some investigator/journalist investigating the missing children in Raven Brooks. Times are pretty tough for us, but we're about to get our best gig yet, as we see the neighbor taking his son forcefully into this new house in Raven Brooks. So, as we casually tank a car crash into a barn, we get started on trying to figure this all out. One important thing to note is that this takes place somewhere in the middle of Nicky escaping the first house and him returning when he grows older and the house in front of him is abandoned. Regardless, our job is simple, as we receive a slew of help letters from Aaron on paper airplanes, which is a pretty damn efficient design. Our goal is to analyze the evidence surrounding us in order to enter the neighbor's house to try and save him. Easier said than done though, as when we wake up from our injuries and our surveillance TVs turn on, we realize that the Peterson household is actually empty and vacant. Police will probably call it a cold case after a little investigation, but we put on our best Sherlock cap and decide to go investigate it ourselves. As we hop over the fence into this vacant house, we rummage around finding nothing of real value until we're able to gain access to the basement, which has a poster talking about a closing of Raven Brooks Museum, which is our main target. So as typical, we pass out and end up back home, where our TVs are now showing footage of the local bakery in Raven Brooks. This lady, you know, the one who looks like she's kind of on mad roids, her name is Gerda, and I don't trust her one bit. For all I know, she's probably lacing those donuts with Tren. So we do what any kind patron does and sneak through the door to her bakery, promptly taking a break to pet her cat, before analyzing a suspicious cash register. We come to realize that her house is actually rigged with puzzles, all to protect what's inside of it. And when we finally do get our hands on what's in there, we realize that it's a key to open up a door in the abandoned museum. As we take the key to the museum and open it up, we meet a familiar face again, Mr. Peterson, his son hidden somewhere inside of this museum. Now, as we're walking around here, there's some pretty sick, demented shit around the house, so naturally we get a little scared and get out of there. Coming back to our main base, a new suspicion is coming to light as we view those cameras once more. We now suspect that there's a huge chance that everybody in this town are co-conspirators trying to back up Mr. Peterson to protect his identity from the police. And unfortunately, our fears come to life as our suspicions become reality. Not only is this creepy old man with a shotgun involved, which honestly I don't know what he's putting in his knees, but I don't know how he's able to run that quickly. Nevertheless, the old man's backyard reveals a safe to another key. But even the mayor of the city has his fingerprints all over this issue. And as far as the mayor goes, as he's distracted with playing jazz music, we feed his dog some barbecue, which honestly, there's more than enough inside of his stomach already. I don't think he needs to be eating this. We make our way inside of his trophy room, where we grab a wheel, that wheel opening into a secret study in his attic, again revealing another key. This entire town is infested, as even the mayor is complicit in these crimes, evident by the strange weird costumes locked up in his own attic. With our evidence gathered and keys to the locked doors in hand, we make our way back to the museum one final time. One of the keys unlocks a little library that uses books to uncover a secret item. We use a wrench to find that book and uncover a bear head. These three headless statues all seem to combine to a secret entrance, so we grab the fish head, and the neighbor's basement uncovers a hog head in the trunk of his car. With bated breath, we place all the heads in their respective location, and as the attic ladder falls down, we finally see Aaron again, that same doll Maya lost clutched in his hands, afraid. As he's one step closer to freedom, we look behind us and see Mr. Peterson, and he doesn't seem too happy at our little play date as he pulls an Itachi and chokes us against the wall as he barricades Aaron inside of the house. So the script is flipped and now we're the ones inside the prison, but no matter, I've made a video all about escaping prisons. Anyway, breaking through this silly defense and using stealth to yoink our wrench off the neighbor's belt, as we quickly climb down the stairs, we notice our worst fear. Aaron wasn't able to escape, and instead he's barricaded inside of the museum with us. As we hide in a closet, we think of a new plan to try and get ourselves out of there. The door outside is locked behind two barricades and a single red key. The red key is inside of the fireplace where we can't touch it, and the barricades themselves are inaccessible because we don't have our crowbar anymore. Therefore, the plan is simple. If the key is inside the fireplace, we grab this fire extinguisher with our wrench and undo the screws in order to extinguish the flames inside of the fireplace. Then we can grab the key, unlock it, and then break one of the glass display cases to grab a crowbar in order to break through the barricades and get out of here once and for all. As the neighbor searches for us, we find a little hidey hole where we can extinguish the flames, finally grabbing that key and unlocking it. And once we get rid of the barricades, we quickly ask Aaron to grab our hand and we can finally get out of there. And just as we think that we're finally about to get our happy ending and Aaron is free, the neighbor takes his final stand to get Aaron back. Only problem is that that crow statue floating in the air collapses on the neighbor's body. Even though this little kid has been harassed so mercilessly, he ends up coming to his father's aid as he's the only family he has left. Aw, how sweet. Oh. So yeah, we get a concussion by some random figure behind us who looks like he has a hook for an arm, and we're being dragged away and losing consciousness. And as the game fades to black, we're kind of unsure what's going to happen with Aaron. All we know is that there's of course going to be more games in the future, but we can still imply what's going to happen based on what we know. We know one thing for sure: at the ending of the first game, which takes place years after Nikki has become a full adult and Aaron should have also become a full adult, we see that Mr. Peterson still has regrets, fears, and trauma. But perhaps whatever happens to Aaron will end up causing some trauma in the future for Mr. Peterson. According to DLC and even the alpha of the game, there is semblance of something called the Thing, which is this weird crow looking thing that is apparently another antagonist in the game. Along with that, there's a lot of extra stuff in the lore of the books and those other games, but I'm not trying to pay $12 for the DLC. Whatever the case may be, as the credits fade to black, I can finally say that I don't have to play this game anymore, as we finally figured out the lore to Hello Neighbor. Son of a bitch.